Hello everyone. Today, April 19th, marks an important date in our world's history, the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943. Before I begin speaking on this matter, I would like to inform you that this video is not for those with faint heart. I am going to do my absolute best to respect those women, men, and children who died during this event. I'd appreciate it if you would do the same in the comments section. All sources I've used, as well as all the images I use in this video, will have links provided in the description if you wish to learn more about this. I will let you know right now that there will be images of dead people in this video, but it is not for shock value. Rather, it is to demonstrate how serious the topic truly is, that this was an event which actually happened. You may click away from this video now if you wish. For those of you who remain, thank you. Before we can get right to the event that occurred on April 19, 1943, some background information is needed. On September 1, 1939, Hitler decided to invade the country of Poland without warning, using blitzkrieg tactics. Blitzkrieg literally translates to lightning warfare. In the book, The World in Flames, author Frans states the following regarding how this tactic was often carried out. Shock, surprise, and movement were emphasized, as the tanks would race ahead to exploit breakthroughs while leaving strongholds for the slower-moving infantry to clean up. This tactic was used with devastating effect against the Polish military. Coetzee again states that the tactic was carried out under nearly ideal circumstances. Germany's air force, the Luftwaffe, maintained air superiority. The Polish military were completely unprepared for such an aggressive modern warfare invasion. More than 10% of the Polish military consisted of cavalry regiments. Despite what you may think, the Polish cavalry was able to keep the German infantry divisions at bay for a while. In fact, the Polish were initially quite successful at keeping the Germans at bay, despite their more obsolete tactics, cavalry. According to Wikipedia, which so far has offered me the most accurate information regarding how long the Polish fought until surrendering, the Polish forces fought from September 1, 1939 to October 6, 1939, so roughly 1 month and 5 days. On September 17, 1939, the Soviets also invaded Poland. Unable to keep up a two-front war, Poland surrendered on October 6, 1939. Now that you know the background before the uprising, it is time we now discuss the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising itself. This upcoming section is not for the faint-hearted and will depict the atrocities of war. The photos shown are genuine and have not been altered or staged in any way. Remember, these are real people who fought and died for their freedom, so please, show them the same respect you would a soldier from your own country. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising began on April 19, 1943, and ended on May 19, 1943. The number of casualties on both the civilians and the German side varies greatly. According to the Jewish Virtual Library, the number of German casualties was 300 and the number of Jewish civilians killed was 7,000. Reportedly, another 7,000 Jews were taken to the Treblinka death camp. What directly led to the conflict, though? In 1942, Hitler decided to deport all the remaining 2 million Jews from the ghettos to death camps. The Germans gathered up more than 300,000 men, women, and children from the Warsaw Ghetto and sent them to the Treblinka death camp. By 1943, approximately only 55,000 to 60,000 Jews remained in the Warsaw Ghetto. Prior to April and January 18th of 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto inhabitants shot at German troops as they were attempting to gather more Jews to send to Treblinka. Weapons that had been smuggled into the ghetto were used with seemingly great effect, as after approximately 5 days the Germans retreated. This led the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto into believing that by fighting back, the Germans would cease and desist on their plans of taking the remaining inhabitants of Warsaw to Treblinka. This boosted overall morale among the population of Warsaw. After this alleged victory in January, more weapons were smuggled into Warsaw and plans were formed on how to defend the ghetto. In April, word was caught the Germans were intending to do one final sweep of the Warsaw Ghetto, sending the remaining inhabitants to Treblinka. Thus, a resistance group was created, the ZOB, consisting mostly of young individuals. For the Polish name, I know I'm going to screw saying this up, Żydowska Organizacja Bojowa, which means a Jewish fighting organization. The leader of this group was a young man named Mordecai Annelweiss. Keep this young man's name in your mind, we will come back to him later. While the Jews of Warsaw were planning, so were the Germans. On the night before the last deportation, Himmler changed the leader of the Waffen-SS and Gestapo in Warsaw from the rather incompetent Ferdinand von Sammeren-Frankenegg to the experienced tactician Jürgen Stroop, who had personal experience dealing with civilian riots. Remember how earlier I mentioned for you to keep the name Mordecai Annelweiss in your mind? Well, now it is time we speak about his involvement in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Annelweiss helped lead the attack on January 18th of 1943 against the German troops. The next few months between January and April of 1943 were extensive preparations, and it was a decisive era for the ZOB, which was under the command of Annelweiss. The Warsaw Ghetto inhabitants and fighters were made aware of this final deportation and hence went into hiding. In the early morning hours of April 19, 1943, the uprising began. As soon as the German soldiers and Gestapo set foot into the Warsaw Ghetto to take the remaining Jews to Treblinka, more than 750 ZOB fighters who were armed with 17 rifles, a small handful of pistols, and many Molotov cocktails faced off against 2,000 highly trained soldiers who had superior firepower and tanks. Initially, the resistance had the upper hand, with the element of surprise, throwing hand grenades, Molotov cocktails from everywhere, windows, sewer drains, and alleyways. 2 armored vehicles were destroyed by the Jewish resistance from petrol bombs. The Germans had many casualties during this initial attack. For over 3 long days, battles took place in the streets of Warsaw. Mordecai, like a true leader, fought alongside his compatriots and likewise died alongside them. When the street fight ended, he moved to the headquarters shelter at Mila 18th Street. On May 8th, Annelweiss was killed in the headquarters bunker together with a few of his colleagues. Mordecai Annelweiss died at the age of 23. In Israel, a monument stands erect in his honor and memory. The Nazis were stunned at this heavy resistance from the Jews. Every man, woman, and child fought furiously, knowing full well that this resistance was in the end futile. Hope of freedom and determination of spirit spurred them on, despite suffering heavy losses. Bodies of insurgents and rebels began to pile on the streets of Warsaw, staining the centuries-old cobblestones red with blood. It was a sacrifice the Jews of Warsaw were prepared to take. Many did not leave their shelters despite the calls and promises of the German soldiers. Due to the stubbornness and lack of results, the Germans decided to set fire to the Warsaw Ghetto, destroying every house and shelter. Overall, the fight lasted for more than 4 weeks, and on May 16, 1943, Stroop declared the Warsaw Ghetto was no more. This is false, as the fighting actually ended on May 19, 1943. And that concludes my summary of the events which occurred on April 19, 1943 at the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. If you wish to learn more about this topic, I have left links in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this serious and somber video of an event which changed the world we live in. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This new series of mine will cover many other historical events, not just those of World War II. The following are definite episodes that I will be covering: D-Day, 9/11, the invasion of Poland, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the attack on Pearl Harbor, the battle at Stamford Bridge, and the American Revolution, just to name a few. If you know of an important historical event that you'd like me to cover in a future episode, please mention it in the comment section below. Lastly, I wanted to mention that Sabaton has a song called Uprising, which is about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. I suggest you go give it a listen and watch the music video as well. Many thanks to my subscribers and to my World War II history professor as well.